I have to say, Malaysia feels like it's holding its breath right now. The mood on the street, it's just heavier than I've ever known it. Seriously. And it's not just a feeling, you know. The hard numbers, well, they paint a pretty stark picture. Public confidence in where the nation's heading, it's genuinely plummeted. For me, just living through it, it's like we were cruising along okay, and then boom, someone slammed the brakes, and everyone in the back feels that jolt, right? Just last week, I was at the Mummick, and the chat wasn't football scores. Not at all. It was all about how much more basic groceries cost, how far 100 Wingate used to go, or, well, how alarmingly little it stretches now. So today, we're going to try and pull back the curtain on why so many people feel this way. We'll look at some really eye-opening data points that highlight this shift, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. We'll explore how these perceptions might be shaped. You know, what could be influencing the narrative behind these numbers? Because, okay, the raw figures tell one story. But what if there's something more complex, maybe even a strategic hand playing a role in how this info gets to us? What if the numbers aren't, the whole story?
That's a really good point. And the sentiment you're describing is deeply reflected in recent surveys. It really is. We're seeing, a significant drop in the number of people who think the country is on the right track. Just a few months back, say December, it was over half. About 54% felt positive. But now, that number's plunged down to just 40%.
40%? Wow.
Yeah. And this drop isn't in isolation. It mirrors a similar fall in overall satisfaction with the government. That went from over 50% down to just over 40%. And maybe the most striking thing, the sharp dip in personal satisfaction with the current prime minister, his approval, it plummeted from over 57% down to only 33%.
33? That's a huge shift.
It's substantial, especially in a relatively short time. It shows a big change in public opinion. And the key driver here, overwhelmingly, it's the cost of living. It's become the single biggest worry for, well, over half the population now, 53%.
53.
Which is a noticeable jump from 48% earlier this year. And this isn't just abstract economics, right? It's about daily struggles, families trying to make ends meet.
Right. And moving from that general feeling to specifics, the discontent gets even clearer when you look at policies. Take the targeted R95 petrol subsidy, for example. More than half the people, 51%, are actively against it.
51% against it.
Yeah. But why? The reasons are incredibly tangible. A big chunk, 32%, fear it'll directly hit their living standards, make things even tighter.
Understandable.
And what's also fascinating, others, about 11% of those against it, mention a lack of trust, like a deep-seated distrust in how the government will actually implement it, maybe based on past experiences,
Right, the implementation mechanism.
Exactly, or worries about fairness. Then another 7% felt things were just rushed, no proper explanation.
Blindsided.
Yeah, leaving people uncertain how it affects them daily. And 4% just thought it was too hasty overall. It feels like it's about more than just the policy. It's about feeling heard or maybe feeling completely ignored. And it's not just these big headline policies that are stinging people. It's the day-to-day pinch in the wallet, almost constantly.
Absolutely. The economic strain on households is, it's undeniable. Satisfaction with the economy. It's seen a dramatic fall. Plummeted, really, from nearly 60% back in December.
Nearly 60.
Down to just 37% now. And similarly, satisfaction with personal income. Same story. A drastic decline from 52% down to 34%. This isn't abstract stuff. It's a very real, immediate struggle for so many Malaysian families right now. It cuts deep into their quality of life, Now, if we connect this to the broader picture of political leadership, the landscape gets quite interesting. While the current PM's approval has dipped significantly, like we said, to 33%, we've seen a noticeable rise in support for a former Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. He seems to be garnering about 41% support among the general public now.
41%.
Yes. And when people were asked about preferred candidates for PM if an election were held tomorrow, 0.33% of respondents lean towards Muhyiddin. That makes him the highest supported individual among the options given. So this shift, it makes you wonder why this particular movement. Is it purely about performance, or are other, maybe less obvious factors shaping how people see these figures?
The numbers definitely show a clear preference emerging for Muhyiddin, yeah. It suggests maybe a desire for different leadership in some groups. It's a really striking contrast because other prominent leaders, like the current Deputy PM, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, he's at 14% preferred. And the opposition leader, Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin, at 13%. Much lower support for the top job in this poll.
Significantly lower, yes.
But here's where, for me, the timing starts to feel interesting, politically interesting. This whole picture, the PM's drop, Muhyiddin's rise, it all came out right before this major planned public gathering, the one calling for change, set for July 26th. You just have to wonder about that timing, don't you? It feels incredibly convenient.
Convenient is one word for it.
Almost perfectly timed, maybe? Like it's meant to set a certain mood or push a narrative just when it matters publicly.
And what's also intriguing as you dig into how these preferences were measured is another detail. When people were asked who they'd want as PM, only a specific few names were actually offered.
Right, just 4.
The current PM, the DPM, Muhyiddin, and Hamzah. Which naturally prompts the question, why only these 4? What about other significant figures? Leaders of major parties, especially from, say, PAS within the opposition bloc.
Like Hadi Awam.
Exactly. Leaders like him were noticeably absent from the choices presented. It really makes you think about how narratives get built, doesn't it? Is this survey truly reflecting the full spectrum of political preferences? Or is it perhaps carefully designed to highlight certain individuals over others?
To shape perceptions within the political landscape, maybe?
Precisely. And that brings us to another crucial question. Who is actually behind collecting this data? If the organization running the survey, the Institute Masa Depan Malaysia, if it's led by Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin himself, a former PM and a key opposition figure, what does that imply about potential influence, or at least the perception of bias in the findings?
Yeah, it doesn't automatically mean the results are fake or fabricated, not at all. But it absolutely adds a layer of scrutiny, doesn't it? Anyone looking at these numbers should really consider that context. I mean, think about it. If a survey puts one specific opposition leader way out in front as most preferred, while leaving out other strong contenders from his own coalition, what message does that send internally to allies within Perikatan Nasional? It could look like an attempt to cement one person's position, right? Maybe shape future strategy within that bloc. Maybe influence who gets pushed forward next time.
It certainly could be interpreted that way.
The whole thing just highlights how vital transparency is and the perception of impartiality, especially with public surveys when the stakes are this high. Political futures, the whole nation watching.
Yeah.
Okay, putting aside how the numbers are presented or who gathered them, one thing is undeniably true, a reality we all face every day. People are feeling the squeeze.
Absolutely. That reality is inescapable.
Yeah.
When we talk about the SST expansion, the sales and service tax, or electricity tariff hikes, or the changes in fuel subsidies, these aren't just, abstract concepts in government papers.
No, they hit home.
Exactly. These are real changes. They translate directly into more expensive food at the hawker stall, higher electricity bills landing in the mailbox each month, needing more ringgit at the petrol pump just for basic travel, work, school runs.
My Grab rides feel pricier too. Everything adds up.
These are immediate daily impacts. And what's concerning is this widespread feeling that the hardest times might still be coming, that sense of apprehension.
Yeah, like people are just getting, by now, stretching every ringgit.
Right. But with more economic adjustments expected, there's this collective anxiety about what's next. Will the pressure just keep building? And while the cost of living is clearly the dominant issue for most, if we connect it to the bigger picture, there are other things bubbling underneath. Other issues contributing to dissatisfaction and maybe a growing distrust in governance generally.
What sort of things?
Well, for instance, ongoing discussions around certain state-level issues, like the Sabah case involving a former chief minister, or the perception, fair or not, that crucial judicial reforms aren't progressing quickly enough. These things create a cumulative feeling, a sense that maybe accountability and justice aren't always delivered as promised.
It raises questions about how accountability is perceived, definitely. Is the system really delivering on good governance, on fairness? When you hear about high-profile cases, political figures, even former political secretaries, it all adds up in the public mind.
People are watching. They're evaluating.
It becomes this ongoing process, doesn't it? People judging the government not just on the economy, but also on perceived fairness, transparency, integrity, all these things mixed together.
That complex mix is exactly what shapes overall public sentiment.
Okay, so we have this duality. On one hand, very stark figures, a clear dip in confidence and leadership approval, driven by very real economic pain, daily struggles. But on the other hand, We've explored some, well, compelling reasons to look critically at where these numbers come from, how they're framed, how they might be serving specific political aims, maybe even influencing internal party politics.
So let me turn it back to you, the listener. What stands out to you here? When you hear about these shifts in public mood, and then you factor in the context, the timing of the survey release, who's running the polling group, the selective list of candidates, how do you weigh the credibility of it all?
Yeah, do these numbers reflect your experience, what you hear from friends, family, or do you suspect they might be part of a bigger, more intricate political game?
It's a tough question. And ultimately, maybe the real test is public action. How much of this sentiment is truly widespread versus how much is perhaps a constructed narrative that might reveal itself soon? For instance, tomorrow, July 26th, there's that planned gathering.
With a protest.
The actual turnout there could be really telling, couldn't it? If tens, maybe hundreds of thousands show up, that clearly signals deep, widespread dissatisfaction, a powerful call for change.
A major statement.
But what if the numbers are much smaller? Maybe just a few thousand. Perhaps that suggests that while discontent is real, it isn't quite as widespread or urgent as some narratives might suggest.
It's a fascinating real-world test unfolding right now.
Indeed. This whole deep dive into Malaysia's public mood really underscores something critical. We need to scrutinize not just what the data tells us, but also who is collecting it and how it's being presented. So for you, the listener, the final thought is this. Are you reacting to a genuine groundswell of public opinion? Or are you potentially reacting to a narrative perhaps strategically crafted to shape Malaysia's political future? The responsibility to ask those questions, who benefits and why now, feels more crucial than ever as we navigate these uncertain times.